Hello everyone, I am Allen0 and we are back again talking about some more Rippaverse Detractors. Some of them may be new, some of them may be old. You may be familiar with some of them, but before we get into that, I'm just going to say do not interact or comment on any of their posts or channels. Just leave all your comments in the comment section down below and we'll have a discussion in the comments. Now, I'm very transparent about my channel. I will show you here that we are currently at 990 subscribers. And I do thank all the new people who have joined. However, there are people that felt the need to hate watch me. I know who you are. I can see you in the comments. You try very hard to insult me in some way that I don't really care about. It gets very old and it's very boring. I mean, if you want to keep doing it, that's fine. I'll just keep milking you for content. That's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. But y'all tried very hard, very hard, to ratio my last couple of videos. It didn't work. Why? Because my audience is more intelligent than yours. Y'all are outnumbered by more intelligent people, like the people that watch me. So you tried in almost every video recently to try to ratio me in some way. It didn't work. Try harder next time. I applaud you, A for effort. But we're going to get into it here with this person. Probably a new detractor, don't exactly know their name, but we're going to get into a couple of clips here. But even before that, we will do an update on the iSum 2 campaign, currently sitting at $1.929 million with 10,887 cover A's sold, 11,329 cover B sold, 3,609 cover C sold, 1,512 cover D sold, with almost 1,700 books donated, 16,376 total purchasers. And as you know, if you watch my previous videos, Eric July is currently at San Diego Comic-Con doing things like signings, as you'll see in this clip here. And y'all can all continue to cope and see all the haters of Eric July. You can continue to do so. You will see it here. We've got Eric July and Gabe Altaib in a booth doing autographs. You can clearly see how long the line is. The line's pretty much all the way down here, so do what you will with that. But let's jump right into it here, where we'll go through these couple of clips here. Apparently clip 1 shows that the person pirated, saying there's far-right identity politics, which there are zero identity politics in this book. No one mentions the fact that they're black or white or whatever, but we'll get into it.
Of iSum that I saw digitally, I don't really see how anyone is winning outside of Eric D. July, who managed to persuade lots of people to go out here and spend $50 with shipping combined.
It's actually $35 and it's not $50. I understand you want to include the shipping to make it sound like it's more than it actually is, but that's not the case. Even if you did include the shipping, it's $43, not $50.
Go out here and
clearly someone can't math.
Pick up a copy of the first issue of iSum. Now, as a writer with over 25 years of experience, as I was looking,
and yet you have nothing to show for it,
through this first issue of iSum, I basically was shaking my head because I don't see how anybody here is actually winning. No, I see how many readers are actually losing, because what Eric D. July has presented in the pages of iSum doesn't make it where comic fans win. No, when I look at
oh yeah, comic fans win because they don't have to be preached down to by the mainstream. This is exactly something that doesn't happen in this book at all. And it's not woke in any way.
It's just the same type of identity politics and social justice on the far right that
it definitely is not
get from the far left as related to many mainstream comics, and we don't.
It's funny how you show no examples of it, yet you claim that it's there, but you show no examples of it.
Don't really get anything that shows me how this book is any different than what is being produced by what some call SJW Marvel.
Clearly, you haven't read it. And again, you are not showing any proof that It isn't. You're basically not showing where it's the same as current mainstream comics. You're just showing a picture of a pirated version of the book.
Now, as I looked at this book as related to the merits of its storytelling, it really was not that great, and it wasn't that great because Eric D. July is not that seasoned of a writer to know how to...
He's probably more of a seasoned writer than you are.
...to really structure a story and make it flow. Now, the big problem I saw...
By the way, these are all opinions you're allowed to have.
...with Isom was that Isom was a book that really lacked focus, and it lacked focus on whether it wanted to be a superhero book, or if it wanted to be a mystery, or if it wanted to be an action and adventure story. It really did not know what it wanted to be. Moreover, there were big problems with the way this story was basically laid out by Eric D. July. Now, Eric D. July...
Now, this book is part of a 3-part arc. It lays the groundwork for the next 2 books. So you still have to wait for the next 2 books to get the full context, but it is essentially a launching pad or a start to a 3-part arc, introducing all the characters that you'll be seeing in the next 2 books.
Basically writes a story that's extremely passive, seeing good panels with good shots. I mean, there's a lot of problems here with this book as related to the passivity. And then as Avery is going into the city, we don't really get a really good transition. I mean, as related to him coming into the city, because when you're doing comics, this is sequential art, and it has to follow a sequence. We get Avery on a big splash walking off the farm, and then we get some action with these with Yaira, or whatever her name is, this white woman. We get to see the white woman in a big splash.
Why does the race matter of the character? It can't just be a woman. It can't just be Yaira. No, you have to include the fact that the character's white. Why?
As showing her power, and this really gives me an interesting perception of what possibly how Eric D. July sees the power of black men. He sees black men as being in the background of their own story, and this is something
Yara is literally in the book for probably 2 panels, maybe we'll say 3 or 4 pages. Let's see. So I've got the book right here, right? So if we're gonna look at the book, right? She's in 1, 2, 3. So 3 pages so far. We're going through it, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She's in 9 pages of this book. Out of a 96-page book, she's in 9 pages. So what are you talking about? How is the character in the background when the majority of the book has Isom in it?
I talked about in depth in another video where I talked about how a lot of black characters basically see themselves as part of a white world, and this is what we see with this splash with Yaira, who is shown using her incredible power, but we've got Avery basically in the background of his own story, and then we get Yaira fighting with some criminals, and then all of a sudden Alpha Core shows up. Now I think young Ripper 59 wants to go out here and use Isom to create his universe, but the way he's executing things is just completely all wrong.
Again, this is your opinion, by the way. This isn't gospel.
Because you're going to go out here and have the story that's jumbled as related to Avery, also known as Isom, but then you want to bring these other characters in like Yaira and Alpha Core, but the way you're doing it, again, just throws off the entire pace of the story, because your pace needs to...
It really doesn't. It moves the story along pretty well, actually.
...be focused mostly on the Avery character and his story. But we get these so-called super cops and Yaira having this confrontation, and this is supposed to be done at the same time, but because it's just done in a very clunky manner, it doesn't really flow very well. And we go back to Avery and him coming out of his truck, but we really needed a panel to show him getting into his truck and his story. Now, after he has a confrontation with these henchmen, he runs into Elite, who basically looks like a big black brute, and after having this confrontation...
His name is Santuan. I mean, if you're going to critique the book, at the very least, say the character's name. You just called him a big black dude. Like,
with Elite, who basically beats him up. He then gets tossed out of Club Marrow and runs into Yaira.
Club Merc.
And then, after having a confrontation with Yaira, who's having a fight with the Super Cops, also known as those three characters, he then goes out here and has a fight.
Dude can't even name the characters that he's criticizing. The names are in the book. Just say the names. It's not difficult.
With Yaira, who basically emasculates him in this fight. And when I looked at that page...
She didn't exactly emasculate him. She basically picked him up because she thought that he was with the Alpha Corps and being with them and helping them. And she just threw him against a taxi. Threw him down from a high height into a taxi, which he had no damage from.
I had to shake my head because while Eric July thinks this is a good opening for Act 1 of his story, what it does is show me that it's just time for me to put the Isom book down, because if you're gonna have a book with a lead black character and you emasculate him in the first act of his own book by a white woman, what you're doing is sending a message that white people are more powerful than you.
No, what he's doing is setting up character flaws that are easily identifiable by looking at those panels. Showing you the arrogance of Avery, of Isom, in the book. Showing you a character flaw.
And that's the message that was sent with this Isom #1. And this Isom #1 basically sends the message, oh, I can be a black man in a white world. I can be a black man who has superpower.
To me, it just seems like you're the one bringing in the identity politics into the book where it's non-existent. No one's mentioning race. No one's mentioning any political views. Nothing. It seems to me like you're the only one here in this case that's bringing in the identity politics that you claim are in this book.
But I am not a black man with a mindset about taking power, and that's what makes the Isom character a very weak character. If anything, he just comes across like a just bargain bin discount Luke Cage, hero for hire, and he's not really coming across as somebody who wants to be an active hero. Again, I just look at...
Again, you really can't tell that from the beginning of the book. Also, again, it's a 3-part arc. Because by the end of the book, he puts the suit back on and wants to do good. He wants to be a hero by the end of the book.
Look at this book, which is supposed to be about us winning, and I don't see how we're winning at all with this.
So again, you're the one bringing in the identity politics. You are injecting the identity politics into the book. You're talking about we. Where's the we? It's one character is supposed to somehow identify with the entire black race, according to you. So the only one putting in the identity politics into the book is you.
It's extremely mediocre book. Now this book goes on, and we get the character of Avery. He winds up in the hospital, but we really don't get any sequences as related to transition. Again, he's just in the hospital, and then he's leaving the hospital. We don't get to see how he evades.
Because he's still on a mission to find Jasmine. He clearly sees he doesn't have time to waste in a hospital bed when he's not exactly injured. Considering he's an except, that he clearly didn't take any fall damage. You could have seen that from the previous panel when he hit the taxi. He clearly didn't take any fall damage. The doctors even said that he didn't have any bruising or anything. And they even claimed that he could possibly be an except.
Aids all these people. He just disappears, and we're supposed to...
Yes, he goes out the window. It's in the book. Like, I'm starting to believe you didn't even read the book. You just kind of skimmed it and think you know everything about it, which you don't.
Believe, this is just him going on out here, and we go about fitting in a black character into a white world, and his...
Again, why is it a white world? Where do you get this idea that it is a white world?
Rippaverse basically looks like it's going to be a world where you get these kind of black characters who basically are just there to be in the background, and that really shows...
So basically what you're saying is that Avery is there to be the token black character of the story. Even though the book is called Isom. Even though there's 3 books that are going to be called Isom.
That Eric July's perception of black is really twisted, but I kind of got that when I saw him in a picture with Kyle Rittenhouse, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to spend...
So, again, somehow his real life reflects his book, which it doesn't. Why do you care?
...money on an Isom comic, because if...
No, you wanted to steal it, and then critique it terribly, and not see the many details that you clearly skimmed over, and you try very hard to act intelligent. You act like you know the book when you've clearly missed little details. Simple details.
If you're out here taking pictures with a white supremacist, I believe that...
Kyle Rittenhouse does not believe that he is superior to blacks or any other race. He was simply defending himself from a P to the E to the D to the O and a felon. Actually, 2 felons. What does this have to do with this book? What in the world does this have to do with the book?
Then you really have a messed up perception of self, and that was what was shown to me in the pages of the first Isom book, and I really wasn't impressed.
You really didn't read the Isom book. You are not showing at all or presenting at all that you read this book. At least in my opinion.
With this book, because the overall story was just basically generic. It wasn't really compelling, and it was done in, again, an extremely passive fashion that really did not show the hero in a strong light, and the pacing and overall...
I mean, Batman's an anti-hero. Spawn, I would say, is even an anti-hero. Okay? Not every character in a book is exactly a hero.
Overall form of the story, again, extremely uneven. I still don't know what Isom wants to be. Does Isom want to be...
He clearly wants to be a hero because at the end of the book, he puts his suit back on. It's not a hard concept if you just actually read the book.
A superhero book? Does it want to be a detective story? Does it want to be an action-adventure story? These are the problems I have with Eric D. July's Isom #1. I mean, with other comic books like Amazing Fantasy 15, we know that Spider-Man is going to eventually become a hero, and we, in the Fantastic Four...
Again, at the end of Isom #1, he puts the suit on to become a hero.
We know that the Fantastic Four are heroes. We know that the book's focus is being a hero. And with other comics I've read, like Darkstorm, I know that Darkstorm is a hero. I know that Deke Sledge is a detective. I know that John Haynes deals with supernatural action and adventure. I have a focus that shows me, okay, this is what this story is about. But after reading the first issue of Isom, it's a jumbled mess. And Eric July possibly believes that, oh,
In your opinion, it's a jumbled mess, but like I said already, it really does seem like you really just skimmed this book and didn't really read it. Because typically, it would seem that most people that pirate this book don't actually read it.
I'm building up a world, but this isn't how you build a world. Now,
Now, after listening to that jarble, that drivel, we come to find out that the man is this person. Right? Like I said already, no harassing, no interacting. But you clearly aren't anywhere near as successful as Eric July, which is why you have these terrible critiques of the man's book. No one is really subscribed to your Patreon, it would seem. And all your books sound terrible. Just saying. I mean, do you have any real experience in writing? Because clearly not. No one wants to buy your books, it would appear. So you're probably just upset that no one wants to buy your books and everyone wants to buy Isom. Coming over here, we have this person here who wants to say, yes, there are people who think Batman vs. Superman was good. I think the movie was dog shit. People are allowed to disagree with me. Just like there are morons who think Isom is good, which again, you are allowed to think Isom is terrible. That's your opinion. The majority of people who bought the book actually liked the book. People are allowed to think Isom is good, which I literally said. So you're saying fans of the Rippaverse are morons because they like something you don't like. Noted. To which this person decides to say something to me. Bro, you're literally sipping for a grown man. Where? Because I'm commentating and giving my opinion on the Rippaverse and how people treat this differently from Marvel and DC. Because I never see these kind of criticisms from these types of people when it comes to Marvel and DC making crappy stories. Making actual crappy woke stories. How can you not see this? I honestly think Air July would be embarrassed by having you as a fan. I really think you need to readjust your priorities. Literally simping for grown men in it, Chief. Well, I had some words for you. I put, nah, he respects my time and my money as a customer and fan of his work and work ethic. You simp for faceless corporations who would spit in your face after taking your money and telling you to go fuck yourself. We're not the same. Y'all simp for entire companies. We are not the same. Also, you're simping for two fat dudes who just ignore their own health and think they're healthy looking like Lizzo out here. I simply commentated on opinions that were clearly lies. At this point, the kid gloves are off. Which in Eric July fashion, of course, he writes, I'm not embarrassed at all. So, in real time, you got embarrassed by believing that someone that I supported, an independent creator that I supported, who I can actually have a conversation with, unlike the faceless corporations over at Marvel and DC, I can actually have a conversation with Eric July about his universe. And he'll respond. So, sucks to be you. And of course, the Fats had to interject because they seem to have some weird fantasy where everything has to be gay. And I'm sorry to tell you that I'm straight. Eric July has a wife. I'm sorry that disappoints you in some way. So I said, I live in your head rent-free, bud. I'm the most interesting thing you talk about now because you're trying to bite at my ankles to clamor for relevancy, and yet no more than a few of your brainless fans watch. Hope you continue to watch me flourish while you continue to die off. Of course, they act like 5-year-old children, like trying to somehow get under my skin. It doesn't really work. Get triggered, define triggered. One of my many examples I could give you is the way you block and unblock people to get them to unfollow you. It's usually a symptom of extreme butthurt. To where I respond, I'm more relevant than you, bud. I don't have any reason to be butthurt over you. You are butthurt over me reacting to videos that don't even involve you, rent-free. To which they respond, you're a lolcow that lactates that sweet content milk. Well, I'm nowhere near as fat as you. I'm not fat at all. I don't look anywhere near as big as you do. So, the only person that's really sweating any kind of milk is y'all. Because y'all the ones that look like you're pregnant, essentially. At an unbelievably high yield, the way you lack self-awareness and have these delusions of grandeur is simply fascinating. Combine that with the way you frequently mispronounce words is just a chef's kiss. Thank you. So, I respond by saying this. I'm sorry I'm more interesting than you. I make better content than you judging by my stats. I don't get offended by having a gaffe. At the end of the day, I'm still out here winning while you cry about me calling out your lies, and you being fat is a chef's kiss indeed. Because it is. Right? And then they try this, of course. The same old nonsense that they always do. Right? And I respond by saying, this, ladies and gentlemen, is called rent-free. They respond with, essentially rent-free. To which I respond with, winning. Hashtag winning. I broke this person, according to Bruce Flash, shout out. And of course they make this weird meme, right? They make this weirdo meme, which gets like 1 like, because no one cares what you have to say. When I say not sending their best, me quote tweeting your terrible meme, right? Me quote tweeting your terrible meme gets more likes than you actually posting your terrible meme. And I say also the left can't meme, because you really can't. Y'all can't meme. You're terrible at it. And just for the people who are watching that are haters of mine because I made fun of your favorite content creator, I know it hurts you so much that you can't seem to have any kind of growth like I can. Because I got to my subscriber base by being an honest person. Y'all got to be where you're at by being disingenuous. And it would appear that you'll continue to stay disingenuous. Well, I'll continue to win, I'll continue to grow, and you'll continue to be stagnant or losing subs. Moving on from the fats. We'll move over to Eric, who had this to say about Eric July and the Rippaverse. Let's take a listen.
See if I can cram all this in one video for you. It's actually illegal to not hire someone because of this.
It actually isn't illegal to not hire someone who's non-binary, because non-binary is not a real thing. I'm just saying. You can't discriminate something that you cannot discriminate against something that isn't real.
Legal. It's discriminatory. Doesn't matter what the reason is. Doesn't matter about the lawsuits and stuff. It's discriminatory. You've mentioned private businesses being able to hire whoever they want. Yes, absolutely. But they can't not hire somebody when it is a protected class under the law, which...
Yes, they actually can. The company gets to decide who to hire. You have no say in if you get hired at a job or not.
This would be protected. So if they could prove that you did not hire them because they were being discriminated against because of their gender identity, you'd probably end up in court.
Which they cannot prove. Because you cannot prove someone's non-binary because it doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. It's a mental illness made up in your head.
I don't believe that person was fired for Twitter post. I know you mentioned it here. I don't believe it. I think you don't believe that. That's bullshit. Look, I've watched a lot of Eric's content when it comes to queer stuff, and I can tell you one thing. He's pretty consistent that he does not believe that queer people deserve the same respect as everybody else. So I don't care what his...
And that's fine. He's allowed to have that opinion, bud.
...political beliefs are. His actual personal feelings about this are very obvious. He's made videos insisting that gay people are insidious and that there's some kind of weird thing going on when it comes to children, even though he knows that's not the real thing that's happening. But you probably believe that too, so I don't know why I'm even saying that.
Pretty sure the people he's talking about are specifically the gay people who are doing things like trying to expose themselves to children and trying to teach them sexual things as children.
I don't care about his debate with OC.
And no one really cares what you have to say. Because you just make up shit as you go. So. Just saying. You just make up shit as you go. But anyway, I think that's all I've got for today. Thank you all for checking out this video. I really do appreciate all the new subscribers, returning subscribers, new viewers, returning viewers. If you do like this video, hit that like button. Comment below what you feel about all this. Subscribe for more content. Hit the bell for notifications. Set the bell to all. That way you get notifications anytime I post a new video. And I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.